Hi all. I know I'm a little bit early. So we'll start in 2 minutes. But welcome. Happy January. Happy winter. Happy something. Happy. My demo piece is smaller so that you'll be able to see more of it. How's that? Not bad? No, perfect. Okay, so I know it's like 6:50, so I will just talk. I will say welcome. I'm glad you're all here. Thank you. We're going to paint on fabric. If you're not painting on fabric, you can use regular acrylics. So you don't have to worry about that. At the end of the class, I will pop around and I will say, hey, because you all know I hate being on camera. Let me get the comments across. Okay, let's see. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Shirley. He is very cute. He is on a 20 by 20 pillow cover that I bought at IKEA. IKEA has the best pillow covers. And here's something that I'm going to say that most people don't even realize. You zipper them, you unzipper them. Okay? So there will be a flamingo on the other side. Look, I'm in the middle of a flamingo. So what I do is I interchange them. So when I'm done with winter, I can paint on the back. If I don't want to paint on the back, I take my pillow out and you know those hangers with the clips on them? I just clip them, and I have 4 or 5 of them on one clip, and I just hang them in the closet. So they're really easily storable. Okay? So that's a really good thing to know. All right? So we're going to start. Thank you all for coming. Any questions you have, just ask me. I will try to keep up and I will try to answer you. Liz, me too. I paint on them for everything. And they make great gifts. So I will try to answer you as I'm going. If I, by chance, miss your comment, which I usually don't, but if I do, I will go back after class and I will answer the comments. I will answer them both when we're in class, and I will answer them after. So if you go back and you watch the replay, you'll still have the answer. I don't know, Jane. I think it's the accent. But hey. Okay, I'm going to move him. Now, the first thing I want to show you, here's my demo piece, is the way I put patterns on. Okay? So, I drew my pattern. Here. I draw my pattern. I put it on tracing paper so that I can put it any which way I want. And I use what's called a sulky pen. S-U-L-K-Y. They are available at Amazon. I don't know what the cost is. They're not overly expensive. But you shake them. I don't know if you can hear that. And then you push the... Let me get a piece of paper so it's not on my finger. You push in and it writes. Okay? Turn your pattern to the back side. I trace the whole pattern. I just come in and I this. Every so often you'll see it getting light. Just push your point down on scrap paper and keep going. Trace the whole thing. Take your iron, set it to really hot, whatever the hottest setting is. Lay your design down with the right side up, so the sulky part is down, and just iron it. When you iron it, the design will come out. And I will tell you, oh, I don't have it on this one. I will tell you you can iron 10, 12, 14 times on the same tracing. So if you're doing a bunch of them for craft fairs, if you're doing them for gifts for your kids, your grandkids, your friends, whatever, you can iron a whole bunch of times before you have to retrace it. So that's a really good thing. I find them very, very easy to work with. Okay, so when, you're right, I don't have an accent. When I told everybody to base coat, so you should look like mine, all your fabric, no matter what fabric you're using, has the thread lines, I don't know what they're called. And you want to get the paint into it. So you kind of have to do a base coat on fabric to get that in. And then we'll work wet. So when we work wet, we'll base another coat. And then we'll work from there. Now, if you don't have fabric paint, I love fabric paint. I use it all the time. But if you don't have fabric paint, you can use this fabric medium. Let me see if I have it close. There's also textile medium. Okay? And so either way, you can use that. And what you do is you mix it with your paint. I'm hoping you can hear me. You mix it with your paint, your regular acrylic paints. I don't know where mine is. You mix it with your regular acrylic paints, and so say 1:1, and then you base coat. That will make your regular acrylic adhere to the fabric. After you do that, so when I detail all this, I don't need to add the fabric medium to it. You only need it when it's hitting raw fabric. Okay? I know you all want to just get started painting, right? But these are the things that are so important. Now, I know they say wash everything. Some things I wash, some things I don't. Canvas bags, I don't wash before I paint on them. If I were doing a t-shirt, I would wash it, and then I would just iron it and iron the pattern on. Canvas bags, I don't. And it adheres just the same. This is washable and dryable. I generally don't dry it because canvas doesn't dry like nice and straight, but it is washable and dryable. Okay, you all ready? I know, Linda, shut up. I got it. Okay, so I'm going to take some red pepper. And if you subbed colors because you used regular acrylics, that's fine. It's absolutely fine, okay? So, I'm going to take, I always talk very fast in the beginning. It's like a nerve thing. And then once I'm past it, I'm okay. So remember, your piece is kind of sideways. So if you hold it this way towards you, you'll know the cheeks are going to go here. They're on either side of the nose. So just think here and here. I use Stencil Pro simply because it's very soft and it dry brushes really nice. I don't use many dry brushes. So I'm going to take a little bit of red pepper. And you don't need much paint. That's going to be a lot of paint. I'm going to come in, I'm going to load my brush. And I'm going to scrub it off. I want you to get off as much as you can. Okay? Sometimes I use paper towels. They say not to use Bounty, but I don't have a problem with it. Try it for yourself. You see this big blotch of color? if I didn't keep scrubbing, this is what would be on here, and you don't want that. So you want to really scrub off, and this brush is indestructible, really. See how much paint is coming off of there? Some scrubbing. And now I'll come in and I'm going to scrub my cheeks. I'm going to start with a circle. Now I don't care if it's on the nose and I don't care if it's on the mouth. And then I'm going to go side to side. Now, 100% a personal choice is how big you want them and how wide, how dark you want them. Some here, his other one is here. Kind of think of the corners of the mouth. You can have really dark cheeks, but if you're going to have dark cheeks, still have them dry brushed. Don't have them with globs of paint so they look opaque like here. You want them to be a rouge of color. If you want them darker than I make them, just keep building up your dry brush. And I got a nice line going on here. And that's because of the fabric inside. Let's see if we can get rid of that. And pay attention to that. Okay. Well, we'll have to live with that. Okay. And I just fold it back in, so. That's just simply from, and I did forget to say, always put wax paper in before you base coat, because if you look inside, the paint goes through. So it's on my wax paper, you see that? If I didn't have the wax paper here, it would be on the back of your piece. And if it's on the back of your piece, it can come through. Not so much in canvas, but definitely if you're doing a t-shirt or something along those lines. Thanks, Deb. Sulky pens are $6.96 at Amazon. And they last quite a long time. So you won't just get one design transferred out of them. I have been using Sulky pens. They used to sell them at Michael's, oh, I don't know, 20 years ago. So I've been using them at least that long. They're tried and true. So those I can vouch for. Okay? Now when you use a dry brush, you use it dry. Now, sorry. I know that I cannot get this whole piece in the camera. And I apologize for that. I just couldn't go much smaller. But at any point that you need me to move it, other than to where we're working on, just let me know. I'm happy to move it over. Okay. So I want to create, and it's going to be hard. I'm going to go back and forth. I want to create my dry brushing on my hat. Okay, so I don't want it to be, well, let's see. If you got a good coat in, you don't need to base over that. So we're going to take some white. And the black is probably the only thing we're not going to have to base over. So we're going to take some white. And if you're using textile medium or fabric medium with your acrylics, now you have your paint down. You do not need to add more. So I'm going to use, it's an encaustic brush. It's a really good hard bristled oval brush, which I kind of need a new one. But I use it a lot. It's a really good brush. So if you don't have one, use something that's hard bristles and that we can kind of beat up. we're going to use this brush dry. Okay, so I'm going to pick up white. I'm just going to wipe some off, and it's just a quick wipe. And I want to highlight the hat. So from the left side, we're just going to come, and I'm right on the tips of my bristle, kind of just swiping in. There's my hat. I'm not going all the way to the other side. I'm not creating a perfect line. This here, this stroke went longer than this stroke. I'll come in, I need more white, and I'm going to come all the way across the rim. Now, when I come all the way across the rim, I'm leaving the top and the bottom dark. So I'm in the center across the rim. I'm running low on light. Oh, I have more. Okay. So, we'll come in. And now I want to brighten this a little, so I'm just flick. See how I'm flicking? Now, if I go too far over, I can clean this, keep hitting it till it's dry, and then flick black in. Okay? So, if you get too bright, don't worry about it. It's not something that can't be fixed. It's an easy fix. Okay? You can wash that out after you're done with that. Oh, nobody's had any questions for me. That just means I'm doing everything right. That would be nice, right? Okay. So now we're going to highlight our eyes. We'll get to the wet on wet. And this piece is not a big long piece or anything like that. It takes a lot of time because it's big. And I have to turn so I know I'm sideways or upside down for you. But if I don't, all you'll see is my hand in your way. So we're going to float. You know what? We've got the time. I'm going to show you. I use a short chisel blender. Okay? So my bristles are shorter than regular bristles. Okay, you see that? When they're shorter, you have more control of your stroke. So I always use chisel blenders to do my floating with. It'll give you more control. So you wet, you'll see the shine on your brush. I blot flat. As soon as the shine hits the ferrule, I lift. I load the corner of my brush. Don't hold it on a diagonal. Hold it as perpendicular to the paint as you can. So I have very little on my brush. You see that? And then I blend in small strokes. See how small those are? Which I generally find is the problem people have with floating. They'll do this and pull all the water out. And then perfectly flat, pressure my entire brush, all the bristles on all the surface. Now you can see the lines there, and that's simply because I'm on fabric. So I'll just add a little bit more water to my brush and go over it. And you can see where it's not going into the fibers of the fabric. And that's just the nature of fabric. Now, if you have inexpensive fabric, and when I say inexpensive, a couple of years ago, I taught a table runner from the dollar store. I thought, oh, what a great surface, because it was inexpensive, and it helped cut down on cost for class. And what happened was when they were painting on it, everywhere you put the paint, it just bled. So be careful of inexpensive fabric because it doesn't come out inexpensive in the end. And these canvas bags at Hobby Lobby, Hobby Lobby has a lot of canvas. They have pocketbooks, they have bags, they have, here, wait, I have right here. Wait a minute. They have this little crossbody bag, and it's a little purse, look. And you can just put stuff in it, and it's $1.29. So they have that, they have a whole bunch of, so these are decent to paint on. Hi Janet, I'm just glad you're here. Hi Patsy, I wish I was in Florida. Certainly warmer than it is here. All right, so now we're going to float again on the little coal on the left side. I'm not going to float right against the edge. Am I on camera? Let me just say I'm on a delay, so just give me a second to make sure I'm in the right spot. There you go. I'm a little bit off edge. I'm following the shape of the coal. Do you see that? So I'm a little off edge, so you can still see the black of the coal, and I'm following the shape. And you can see I move my piece so my hand is comfortable as I'm working. You should do the same thing. You should be moving your piece so your hand is comfortable. Not keeping your piece comfortable, but moving your hand. That was quick. We got 3 elements done. Well, we'll finish the eyes. Okay. It's been cold here too. It's like 30, well, it was 30 degrees today. I don't know what it is now. But it was cold. Thank goodness it's going to be April soon. That's all I can say. Okay. So now we're going to come in. Now, so what we've done so far is we've taken our fabric and we've base coated it. Now, the good thing is we can do a couple of techniques. Well, Janice, welcome if this is your first time. We have a lot of fun and you'll learn a lot. And if you have questions, ask them. If I don't answer them now, which I generally do, I will answer them in the comments after. So welcome, welcome. So what we've done is we've learned to use an encaustic brush to dry brush to get this effect, a snowy effect. We've floated to get our highlights. And now we're going to work wet on wet. So we're going to take this piece and we're going to do it in 3 different techniques to get what we're looking for. So I'm going to take Cad Orange. Now, when you all base coated, and I'm hoping you're painting along with me, you knew or you learned that it doesn't always dry so quickly. And I agree. It doesn't. So I'm not overly concerned that this is going to dry as I'm working on it. Sometimes when you're on wood and stuff, it dries very quickly. But this doesn't. Okay? And you can, when I paint with fabric, see how much paint I have on my brush? I put it on. And I paint. It's okay to glob it in because we're putting it into we're getting it into the fibers. And like I said, I base coated to get the paints into the fibers. Now, I'll be doing another live on my Facebook on a mask for winter. And when you use that kind of fabric, you will see you don't need as much work to get it in because it's much tighter in its weaves. And anybody who sews or knows fabric might say I'm saying the wrong fabric terms, and I might be, but hopefully I can convey what I need to. So the fabric here, it's got like the little diamonds in it. When you do a mask, or I paint smocks and I use men's shirts, you know, the button-down shirts, that fabric's totally different, so you don't have a problem getting it into the fabric. When you paint on canvas, you just gotta base coat everything. Okay. So, we're going to take a little red pepper. When I mix my paints, let's see if I tell the truth. I always use a palette knife. Almost always. I will tell you, I never, ever use the bristles of my brush to mix paint. It will ruin your paint so quickly, your brush so quickly. So if I don't, and 90% of the time I have a palette knife. If I don't have a palette knife, I'll use the back of the handle of a brush, but I don't ever use the bristles. Now I move my fabric because if you get paint on your fabric, it's there. So when I mix, I want to make a little bit of a darker red. So I'm going to use the back. Here's my palette knife. Here's the back of my palette knife. I'm going to take a little bit on the back. And if you ever see my instructions, I'll say 1 to a touch. That's a touch. Black takes over quickly. So I'll mix. You see how quickly that made that dark? Remember, you can always add more dark. It's much harder to take the dark out. So you see how I have a really nice antique maroon color. Okay. Now my nose is still wet. Okay, so. Oh, thank you, Bev. Thank you, Bev. I just wasn't sure. And Jane, FYI, no, you're not married to it, because if I got paint where I wasn't supposed to, we'd make a little heart or a little snowflake, or we would do something to get rid of it. But you are married to it in the effect that you're stuck with it. Okay, so I'm still wet. I'm going to come in with my dark mix on my flat, and I'm just gonna, I know this is gonna look so like, oh my goodness, what is she doing? And you see what I'm doing? I'm just laying my color in. And I'm making what looks like a big mess. See that? Okay, I'm gonna wipe out my brush. Looks like a mess, huh? And we'll come in. I'm just going to have some orange, just in case I need it. My brush has nothing on it. And I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to go back and forth and blend. See that? Now, for some odd reason, my orange is drying. So I'll just come in and I'll pick up some orange And I'll blend it right in. And you see how I'm creating my shade with a mix. See that? I know a minute ago it looked like you thought I didn't know what I was doing, huh? And I'll just come, and all I'm doing is mixing the two colors together. You see that? See how nice that looks now? Now it doesn't look like I don't know what I'm doing. Now I know I'm very dark here. I'll just come in and I'll add some more dark. Wipe out my brush. And I'll just see how pretty that looks. Is that a little better? Give you better light. Now, it might be because I wish I was in Florida where it was warm. So my studio is like 80 degrees. So that's why I'm drawing faster. So I want to highlight the top of my nose. So to highlight the top of my nose, I'm going to use Cad Yellow. But, thank you, Janet. But I can see that I'm dry. Simple fix. Come in with the orange. It's not even a fix because there's nothing broken. I just need to have the wet there to work with. That's all. So I'm just going to make it wet again. Now it's wet. I'm going to pick up yellow, Cad Yellow, and again, I'm going to lay it in. I'm just going to blend it in. See the difference? Now, when we put the red in, I know you went, oh my goodness, Linda, what are you doing? Because the value change from the orange to the red was a lot. The value change to the yellow was not a lot. Yellow is a transparent color. When you have a transparent color, okay, it tends to pull into the base coat color. So it's almost like, I don't want to say a sponge, but it just absorbs in. So what we'll do is we'll do it 2 or 3 times. That's all. Instead of just once. And we'll just come in. And you can let it, we'll probably walk away from it for a minute and let it dry for a minute. And I could just keep, and I'm just swiping back and forth. Now, if you notice, I don't have a line here, okay? So I didn't put my red. I kept blending until it blended together. I did the same thing with the yellow. So now it looks very natural. The dark makes the item recede, so the carrot is pushing down. And here it's light, so the carrot is pulling up. So now my carrot is dimensional as opposed to flat. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope. Okay. I'm on a walk cake tonight. Sorry. I always drink a lot of water, but... And I'll probably do this a couple of times. And I'll show you how to... And I brought a little bit into the tip of my nose. Now, my noses, whenever I design anything, Snowman, my noses always come up and curl. It's just a Linda thing. If you don't like the curling carrot, don't put it in. Have your carrot stop wherever it wants. It's not a I'm right and you're wrong. It's just, it's what I like. And if you don't have your carrots come like that. Okay? So I'm going to walk away from that for a minute. I know I need more yellow in there, but I need to walk away from that. That's me cleaning my brush. In the brush basin, you pull one way and it'll clean your brush. Okay, so we're going to need more yellow there. Before we start the scarf, we have black out and we have white out. So let's finish the eyes so that we won't be leaning over into wet paint. You want to be careful that when you're working, and if I needed to, I would just do it upside down, but obviously you guys don't want to see it upside down. So you want to be careful, like this is wet. You don't want to be putting my hand here and working here because you'll get it everywhere. Okay? I was painting last night and got it all over my shirt. So I'm going to use a rigger, and I'm going to use a rigger, I'll tell you why. It's got more bristles than a liner, and when you're working in the weave of the fabric, when it's not really tight, it's a little bit harder with a liner to work with. So I'm going to pull my lashes just the same as you do. Be careful, your nose is wet. Okay, so I'm going to anchor this part of my hand. And here's my line for my eyes. From my line, my eye line, I'm going to come up. Now you see how the paint doesn't go into the fabric all that well. And that's with a rigger. It's going to be a little bit harder with a liner. It's not that you can't do it, you certainly can. And I always pull from the eye line out. And I pull from the eye line out. There we go. Because where you place your brush is going to be the heaviest part of your stroke. So it gets thinner as you pull out. You don't want to be thick here and thinner here. It won't look natural. So I had to go over it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'm pulling towards the middle of the eye, but I'm pulling in the same direction as my original eye line. Okay? So I'm going to turn this one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm starting here, and I'm pulling this way. And I'm pulling this way, and I'm pulling this way. And at the end of the class, I'll show you next month's class, because we're still online. And in 2 weeks, the beginner class, I'll show you that too. And then I'll show you what to run and get for March's class. I will not show you March's class, because the girls gotta have some secrets. Okay. So those are my eyelashes. Okay. Eyelashes can make the whole piece. Sheila, I have to tell you, I just did it last night. I tend to just plop my hand, and then I happened to be using leaf green. I was working on a submission, and it was everywhere. I'm like, oh no. But on fabric, you got to be careful, because if you get it somewhere, we got to cover it up. Now, something that's really, really important when you do the shines in your eyes, there's a couple of things that are very important. Shines on your eyes go on the left side or the right side. I know I'm very bad with left and right, and I think I just screwed that up, so just ignore it. But they go on the same side. If they go in the center or on the outside, they're cross-eyed. Generally, I say, don't do that. But in this piece I did, because I wanted him to be a fun, funky snowman. So I'm going to. Now, I know a lot of people take their stylus or whatever and they dot eyes. A shine in your eye is never a polka dot. So I'm going to take my rigger. I'm going to scrub a shine. And I'm going to scrub a shine. They're never circles. Look at somebody's eye. They're never, it's a scrub. See that? Okay? So when you do eyes, I don't care what you do them on, always it's a scrub. And then they'll look natural. So now I can go back. And my nose is tacky. So I can come back in with the Cad Yellow. And I can, my brush is damp, and that'll help blend it right in. And if it's not blending well, use just a wet brush, just water, and you see the difference? And I can just blend it in. I'm putting a good amount of pressure on the brush. I'm not on the tips of my bristles. I'm giving it a good, I don't want to say scrubbing, but a good blending. I don't know a better word. I wish I did. Now I have a line going on here, so I'll clean my brush. And just a damp brush, I'll come in and I'll blend it out. Or you can take orange on your brush. But the problem is, and you can do it, it's just more work. If you take orange and put it in, then you got to come in and you got to build up the yellow again. And that's the one good thing about being just a little bit drier when it comes to the transparent colors, is being a little drier as opposed to wet. It's much better to be wet when you're down here in the dark. How's that for a beautiful nose? Such a beautiful nose. Okay. So now I want to create the carrot creases. So when you have creases in a carrot, some will come from the top, some will come from the bottom, some are just in the middle. When you're doing yours, don't do top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. You really don't want to do that, okay? So important not to do that, okay? No patterns. You're going to come in with your dark mix. You can use your rigger or you can use your liner for this. And your liner, where it was harder to get into the weaves of the fabric here, you don't have that here because you have paint here. So it'll work much easier. You're going to come in, I'm on the tip. You're going to follow the back edge of the carrot. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to stroke some creases. I don't think much about, and I stop here. Don't keep going up here because then it'll look like you're just lining it. I don't think much about it if I thought about the spacing, or I thought about top, bottom, it would not look right. The only thing I always think about is curving the same direction as the back of your nose. Okay? So whenever you do anything, when you curve with the eye, you curve with the direction. When you curve with, I don't know, when you're doing something else, you always curve with that direction. Okay, so we dry brushed the hat with an encaustic, dry brushed. We floated the eyes. We pulled the eyelashes from the eye, and we did that with a rigger, but always remember pulling from the eye line. And we smudged the eye, and then we just finished the nose with the creases. Okay, so we've done dry brushing, we've done floating, we've done wet on wet. We're going to wet on wet here too. So let me just see what colors I used. My green to base coat. I'm going to use Avocado for my dark. And if you don't have the colors I have, well, that's not going to work. If you don't have the, oh, you know what? You can take Avocado or olive. I'd say olive. And then we're going to use yellow. If you don't have the colors that I have, first of all, you can sub something close. But on something like the scarf, if you wanted a purple scarf, purple and white, do purple and white. If you want, you know, a whole different color, just always think of your values. We have our medium value that we base in, we'll have our dark value that we shade in, and we'll have our light value that we highlight in. So if you're using purple, have a darker light and medium purple. That's all. Okay. What color what, Emily? If it's the green, it's the color you base coated the green parts of the scarf with. Which my direction said green apple, but I don't know what you used. So I'm going to work one or two at a time. I'm going to base coat. Let's do two at a time. This way we have a couple of, we won't get it in our hands. And I mixed a little bit of a darker color, because that color was a little blinding for me. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my brush. I'm not washing, I'm just wiping out my brush. I'm going to pick up my dark. Oops. See how easy it is to get something on something? I just got green there. And I'm going to, hopefully I'm in camera, I'm going to bring my dark along the bottom. And I'm constantly wiping. Put some dark in there and wipe. Put some dark in there and wipe. I want enough in there. I need just a little bit here and wipe. And then I'll come in just like we did before. I'll blend it. Now, is it easier to float it? It's a different look. When you paint on fabric, you more often work wet on wet. Now I'll come in with the yellow, and I'm going to bring yellow at the top. Now again, remember what I said, yellow is transparent. The light on, oh, the creases on the nose, Emily. The creases on the nose are the dark mix that we mixed before, which was red pepper and a little bit of black. And that gave us a dark maroon. So if you're not using fabric paints, something in the deep burgundy, the dark maroon, that was the same mix that we floated on the bottom of the nose. Now I'll have to add more yellow in here after. Let's try something. Take yellow, a little bit of white. Let's see if that works. So now you see the difference in that? This didn't fade in because there's white in it, and white is not transparent. White is opaque. So you see the difference? So all I did was bypass a step because I'm lazy. I didn't want to wait. Let me see. Okay. We'll come in. And I got green here, but I'm not worried about that. Now this one I'm just going to do one because it's a big one. Now if anybody has any questions, please ask me. I'm happy to answer your questions. And even if it's not what I'm doing right now, if you have fabric painting questions, I'm happy to tell you the answer. Well, if I know the answers, I'm happy to tell you. If I don't know the answers, I will find them for you and answer you in the comments. But I'm pretty good. I know a good amount. So again, I'm going to pick up my dark. Now remember, we start with our medium value, and then we drag in and blend in our dark value. I'm constantly, and all I'm doing is wiping. Okay, and I'm just blending. See that? Side to side, because I want to shade the bottom. Oh, sugar. I went into my base coat color. Not that it's a big deal, but I just took out what I did. Just more work. We'll let that dry a little. In the meantime, we'll take some yellow and we'll pull it in. Now, if you like the yellow, if you don't like the yellow, you can do white. Okay, so again, I'm still working wet on wet. Well, that'll be pretty if only it dried like that. Now I can come back. Just add a little yellow in here. And in here. See how pretty they're looking? I need more dark on here, but it's just too wet. Now I'm constantly wiping because what happens is you're picking up paints and putting it on, and when you're blending, you're picking up some of what's there. So you've got, for lack of a different Linda word, and a lot of my words are Linda words, blobs of paint. And you don't really want blobs of paint on your brush. It's just going to keep pulling across your piece. So you won't be blending it, you're just going to be dragging blobs of paint. Okay? So you want to kind of avoid that, and that's the reason why I'm constantly wiping. So see when I get to here, how now I have almost nothing left, and here. You don't have to wash it. Just pull it off on a paper towel. Now, this is tacky. And you can feel it, but I can see it's not as shiny as the other one. So here I'll come in. I'll do yellow with a little bit of white because that'll give me a more opaque look. And then I'll come over it with yellow when it's tacky. And make sure you don't create lines that you're blending. And then I'll do one more. Now you can see the difference between the yellow and the yellow with the white. And I'll take care of that as soon as it's tacky and we can put the transparent color on. Okay, so I base coat. Remember, I base coat. I pick up the dark. I drag the dark along the bottom. Wipe. Dark along the bottom. Now I wipe. Blend. Wipe. We'll do yellow. A little bit of white. Now if you like the yellow and the white, you can leave it. This is what I will tell you. And I will say this all the time. When I choose the colors on my pieces, I tend to go for the warm colors. The reds, the yellows, the oranges, because I like warm colors. So when you see my designs, you'll notice it. It's not wrong to say, oh, I like a little cooler look to it. That's fine. That's 100% what you like. If you're putting your paint in the right place and you're blending it and you're not creating a line, there is nothing wrong with changing your colors. You know, it's perfectly fine. You have your medium, you have your dark, and you have your light. That's what you want, and you want the technique. The colors are irrelevant. Do colors that make you happy. You want to look at your piece and smile. You want to look at your look at your piece and say, "Oh, I love that," and that's what you want. That's what your artwork is. So now I'm going to take red, and I'm going to base it red pepper. Now, if you don't have enough of the dark mix left, mix yourself some of the dark mix. And the dark mix, again, is red pepper and a touch of black. And I'm going to come in the bottom. I'm just going to blend. Isn't that pretty? And then guess what color? Yellow. Again. Oh, you know what you can use? Orange. Use orange. I don't know that the orange will be bright enough. There, the orange is pretty. See how pretty that looks? The orange is not transparent, so you'll be okay. Now this blob of green, this red right here, will take care of it. Oh, I feel bad, we'll probably be done early. I shouldn't say that, should I? Whenever I say we'll be done early, we never are. And see, I just got rid of that there. Okay, so I'm basing, wiping. When you paint on fabric, it's usually pretty repetitious. So it's just a matter of, and because you want to work wet, you don't base all the red and all the green. You're working each area to completion. So here, I'll move to the next piece, the next section. That's what I should say. The next section. We'll have time, I'll jazz him up a bit. And here. And I'll come in again, drag along the bottom, side to side. There's just a spot here, but that's not paint. Cad Orange. There's not a lot of pieces in this, not a lot of colors in this piece. Now, I am cleaning my brush at this point simply because there's so much paint in my brush that even when I'm wiping it, I can see globs of paints. So, while I don't generally wash my brush often, that's when I do it. And if you noticed, when I blend, I'm blending all the way down. I'm not stopping, so I'm not creating a line. All right, so here. And here. And the dark. Wipe. Now, when it's a smaller area, if you feel more comfortable, bump to a smaller brush. That's totally up to you. Orange at the top. Keep paper towels around because when you're constantly wiping, you tend to use more than not. And I have one more section. So again, red. Now you don't have to do a scarf like I did. This scarf makes me smile. But you can do like a regular muffle of a scarf and just do regular stripes. Okay. Here. All right, so now, my nose I'm happy with. I'm fine with my nose. My scarf, I want you to look at your scarf. Nobody still has questions? I look at my scarf and I say, oh, it could be a little darker. The red I'm okay with. My green, again, now I'm using a damp brush. I'm just going to come in with just the dark green. And I'm just going to pull some more dark in. Okay? It has to be damp. Otherwise, you're just going to get a blob of paint. And I use very light pressure. See how light my pressure is? And I'm just deepening those shades there. Because it just faded in. And like I said, sometimes it just doesn't. I'll do the same thing with the yellow. Damp brush, light pressure, and I'm going all the way down so I'm not creating this line. Oop, 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 oop. I knew I did that. So, again, not married to it. Take a damp Q-tip and just pull it off, and then it's gone. Ta-da! I use Q-tips from the dollar store because they have less cotton on them, so they're much better for painting. And I didn't pick up the wrong color. My yellow and my orange are close, so I went like this when I pulled it across. I picked up the yellow and then I pulled it through the orange. So come here, and you see what that second coat does? And here. And here. You gotta be damp though. Now, if you want to brighten the orange, you can bring a little yellow into that. The red, rather. Sorry. Well, but it's where the orange is. It's kind of like your... I don't want to say that. I was going to say kind of like your coloring, but you're really not. But you can go back and forth like that because you're wet. Generally, I wouldn't say go back and forth with your paintbrush, but because you're damp, you can blend back and forth. Beautiful, right? Now, my original piece, this is as far as I went. And I went this far because it was big. But just say you have a little bit of extra time, like we did. I'm going to I'm going to take a small brush. So let me grab like 2 flats. I'm going to take my green and I'm going to give him a holly leaf. Now when you do holly leaves, one of the most important things about a holly leaf is these points. You've got to have the points to a holly leaf. Now, let me base coat this and let me see how we're going to look with one. Generally I do 3s, but let's see. And I kind of just go with the flow. So, oh yeah, definitely not one. But we're going to do 2. We're going to break Linda rule. Do 1 there. And 1 here. Okay. You know we can't have that. All right, so we're 1, 2, 3. And I kind of just pulled them in. Now, I lost my brush. Is it, can you do one? Sure. Can you do two? Sure. Should you do odd numbers? Yeah. And this is just a, oh, I want them, or no, I don't really want them. Like if you're happy with the piece, we're doing a little more because we finished earlier. And we finished earlier simply because my piece is much smaller. We do not float on the scarf. No, Emily, we do not float on the scarf. I'm not on the camera. Is that better? Yes? Okay. Just an FYI, I am watching it on another device, but you guys are delayed behind me. So I think you're 5 or 6 seconds. So I move on and I don't realize it, so I apologize. And thank you for telling me. So because we have the time, I'm gonna come in and we're gonna do these. I did not float on the scarf because I worked wet on wet. And if you notice, I'm kind of to the side so that my hand is not in the scarf. Now, I'm base coating. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did on the scarf. I'm going to pull dark down at the bottom. Pull dark. Now here's something, if you're having problems blending, you can take a small mop. I'll show you a trick. So here I have, I'm going to put in a bad blend. Here's my blend. Now, of course I don't want you to do this, but this is a way to not stress. So I have a bad blend there. So I'll take a small mop and I'm just gonna, in little circles, blend right there. You see how I just blended that out? Can you see that? I know it's wet, so it's a little hard to see. And I'll come in and I'll do the same thing here. Now, is it dark enough? No. So I'll just come in, and just like I did with the scarf, I'll do it again. Now I'm not flat because I put the handles underneath. Just blend that out. Now this needs to be, okay, I'm still on, darker. Now this is very wet, I can see that, and that's probably why it's, well, it's not probably, it is why it's pulling. Now you see how nicely I can blend that should I need to. Now look at how pretty those leaves are. Let me turn them so you can see it. Look at how pretty those leaves are. Now, I'm going to give it a minute to dry. I'm just trying to help it dry. And instead of highlighting the top, I'm going to take a dry brush. So, I'm going to take a dry brush. Yes to what, Sheila? Oh, I'm on screen now. Okay. Sometimes it's 5 steps behind that I get lost. Sorry. And I'm just going to dry brush some yellow in. I don't want to make it too bright. Just want to brighten it up a bit. Just a bit. Don't want to turn my leaves yellow. Aren't they pretty? They'll be real pretty in a minute. We're going to take our liner or your rigger, either one. I tend to use a rigger a lot. And we're going to pull our veins. So I'm going to come from the base, remember, our heaviest point. We're going to pull our center vein. And then we're going to pull side veins. Our side veins do not connect on the left and the right. Do not create angel wings. Anybody who's ever painted with me will tell you that's something I say all the time. Left, pull out, right, they do not connect. Aren't they pretty? Here, okay. Now I'll come in, and you can use the back of your brush. You do not have to use, you know what I have? They make glitter paints. And, or you can use glamour dust. It's not in my bucket. Okay. Oh, I got it. Now you can use red pepper. They also make red metallic, ruby metallic. And I don't want to do too much on these berries, because I want it to be a simple, I don't want to get crazy. I'm going to take my rigger and I'm going to, I just got red on my piece. You knew I was going to do that sooner or later, right? See that? See, Jane, not married to it. Which I usually am. Okay, so I'm going to take my rigger and I'm going to flatten it. Now you can use the back of your brush too. So you can use the back of your brush and just, I do a half a circle. I do another half a circle. And I just fill it in. And I know you can't see this, but this has got a nice glitter to it. SoSoft also makes ultra fine glitter that you can add right on top, and that'll give you, I'll do one berry, I'll do two berries, and I'll do three berries. Now, I'm not going to shade and highlight them, although you can. I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to paint them red, and then I'm going to give them just a little stroke of white. So then I'll take my white, and you can wait till it's dry, or you cannot. And I'm just going to come, and remember what I said, always follow the shape. So come in, and I'll just add a stroke of white. I'm following the shape of the berry. See how cute that looks? That's really cute, right? So, when I design things for class, I am always very time conscious. So one of my big things is making sure you get done. But when you're painting at home and you're doing things, you can add extra things. You can, you know, if you would do this art, you can add fringe. You can add little snowflakes all over. You can have a grand old time. So let me just go through what we did, and then I'll show you the next class, which is beginners, and I'll show you next month's intermediate piece. And then I'll tell you what to go running to the dollar store for. We painted, we had our hat painted. We took an oval encaustic and we dry brushed from the left side of the hat in white, and we came across the rim. And then we floated the bottom of the eyes. We smudged the eyes, and we pulled the lashes. We worked wet on wet. With red pepper and black, we blended into the bottom of the nose. We blended yellow into the top of the nose, which we repeated because it's transparent. Our crease was with our dark mix, following the shape of the back of the nose. The scarf, we did the green and the red separate. The red we base coated, and then we added the dark at the bottom, the dark mix in the red and olive green, and then Cad Orange and yellow on the tops. We blended that into the tops, and then we just came in and we played, and we put some holly leaves, blended dark in, gave it some veins, added some berries with some comma strokes. Okay, and that's all we had to do. Now, if you're using SoSoft paint, if you're using the old version, you have to, the smaller bottles, which are this size, you need to heat set it. So just put something on top of it, or throw it in the dryer. Put something on top of it and just iron over it quickly. If you're using the new 2-ounce bottles, you do not need to heat set it. Okay, so it's just good to go. After, give it a couple of days, but then you can wash it. They are washable. You can put them in the dryer. I tend to hang them, but I have put them in the dryer, so I can tell you 100% they are dryable. Okay. Can you use the same technique on wood as you did for the scarf? Sheila, absolutely. You can work wet on wet anywhere. Okay. I have a list. January 28th. Our beginner class. Ooh, is this? Isn't that a fun piece? So, this is a piece that I found at Dollar Tree. I don't know if they still have them or if they don't. If not, you can paint it on anything. I added, I can't find them, little round discs. So in the wood section, they have little bags. I added 2 discs. There's a 1.5 inch disc and a 2.5 inch disc. Is that better? And then I glued them on. But this has one, it's just smaller, and this is, you can see through it. So it comes plain, and so we'll learn stenciling, and we'll float, and we'll do some snow, and we'll have fun with that. Next month, which is February 8th, we're doing this piece. Isn't this piece fun? He's very fun. We're going to stencil. I'll teach you how to do ribbing, weaving, and he's my favorite piece. It is so cute. Thank you. If you want the cutout, Pinecraft.ink has it. It's inexpensive. You can also paint it on anything, but it's a great piece. And then, sneak peek, I'm not going to show it to you done, but in March, we're going to do this piece. This is going to be my beginner class, so it'll be on a Thursday. We're back to Mondays for intermediate and Thursdays for beginner. They just put them out at Dollar Tree on Saturday. So if you don't have them yet, don't panic. They will have them, but when they have them, get them, because then they won't have them. I have painted it already. I have not sent it in yet, but Dollar Tree has them, so you should get them. So now I'll turn you around and tell you thank you so very much. Hang with me for 1 second. Oh, I can't rotate. Huh? It's not letting me. Oh, there. Ah, there I am. So, what I'm going to say, I learned some, ask you a question on it. Depends on what stencil it is. The stencil hard, stencil spelled stencil. The snowflake stencil is a tomorrow stencil. So I'll put that up. The Snowman hard pen. If you want the full instructions, I have them up tonight. I will have the line drawing. I will put it up on my on classes 2 weeks from Thursday, so Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Okay, it'll stay up for 2 weeks. I take it down the day of class. Okay, so you're all into it. All right, I thank you for being here. I will see you at the end of the month. Thank you. Thank you. Have any questions? Just comment, and I will. I don't think so. Oh, Sheila, if you could see. So I will see you all in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to help you. And have a good night. All right, I'm out. FYI, the replay will be on the library. Go on the web, and it will be there. The old ones still there under the library. Okay. Next class. Oh no, this month was a 1 year online. Not bad. But everybody, thank you for being with me.